Imagine two people. Person A wakes up at 6:45 a.m. The alarm is a notification. Before his feet touch the floor, his thumb is already moving. Instagram, WhatsApp, news. A cortisol spike dressed as information. He hasn't brushed his teeth yet. He already feels behind. He already feels compared. He carries that feeling, like a stone in his chest, for the rest of the day. He doesn't know why he's tired by noon. He doesn't know why his mind feels like a browser with 40 tabs open. He calls it modern life. Person B wakes up at 4:30 a.m. No alarm needed. She rises in darkness, intentionally, willingly, with a kind of quiet joy that makes no sense to the modern mind. She does not touch her phone. She sits. She breathes. She drinks water the way her grandmother's grandmother drank water, like it is sacred. She moves her body. She sets her mind. By the time the sun rises, she has already lived more consciously in 2 hours than most people do in a full day. She is not a saint. She is not a monk. She simply remembered something that her ancestors knew, that the civilization that built the concept of zero, that mapped the stars millennia before telescopes existed, that understood the nature of consciousness before psychology had a name for it. That civilization also knew something about how to begin a day. In Sanatan Dharma, the eternal way of living, the morning was never just a time of day. It was a portal. And today, I'm going to show you, with the full depth of neuroscience and the full depth of Vedic wisdom, exactly what that portal opens into, and exactly how to walk through it. Let me teach you a word that your great-great-grandparents knew in their bones. Amrit means nectar. Kal means time. Amritkaal is the nectar time, the sacred window that exists every single day before sunrise, that the Vedic rishis identified as the most powerful period of existence for a human being. But here is what most people don't ask. They know the what, they don't know the why. Why did thousands of years of Vedic civilization agree unanimously that waking before the sun is not a punishment, not an ascetic discipline, not something only monks do? Why did they call this time nectar? What did they know that we forgot? The Vedic texts describe Amritkaal as the time when tamas, the quality of heaviness, inertia, unconsciousness, is at its lowest, and when sattva, the quality of clarity, light, and pure awareness, is at its highest in the natural world. Now, modern neuroscience did not know about tamas and sattva, but it discovered something functionally identical. In the last 90 minutes before waking, the brain undergoes a phenomenon called REM rebound, combined with elevated theta wave activity. This is the state where the brain is simultaneously in deep rest and heightened neuroplasticity, meaning the brain is most capable of forming new connections, integrating insight, and accessing intuitive, non-linear thinking. The prefrontal cortex, our center of wisdom, long-range planning, and conscious self-regulation, is naturally primed in this window. It has not yet been contaminated by the day's stimuli. The Vedic sages did not have fMRI machines, but they had something arguably more precise: thousands of years of direct, systematic observation of human consciousness. And they noticed that people who woke in this window were calmer, clearer, more creative, more connected to something larger than themselves. They called that quality sattva. Modern neuroscience calls it optimal prefrontal coherence. Different languages, the same sunrise. The Atharva Veda states, Brahma Muhurta Uttishtet Swastho Rakshartham Ayusha. Rise in Brahma Muhurta, in good health, for the protection of your life. Brahma Muhurta falls 96 minutes before sunrise. When you wake in this natural wave instead of fighting it, your body and mind align. When you override it, sleeping past this window, the cortisol awakening response becomes cortisol suppression, contributing to brain fog, low motivation, and afternoon fatigue. Your ancestors weren't waking early because of discipline. They were waking early because they understood the body's chemistry before chemistry had words. The first moment, Darshan. Here is a question nobody asks you. In the first 30 seconds after you wake up, what happens in your mind? For most people, the phone, the news, the to-do list, the anxiety about yesterday, the identity of I am behind, I am stressed, I am not enough, activating before the body is even warm. The Vedic tradition designed the first moments of waking as a precise technology of consciousness. Every single action was intentional, deliberate, designed. The first Vedic practice upon waking is called Darshan. Kar means hands. Darshan means sacred seeing. The seeing that transforms both the seer and the seen. You wake up. Before you rise, before you speak, before you even fully open your eyes, you bring your hands together before your face. You look at your palms and you say, Karagre vasate Lakshmi, Karamadhye Saraswati, Karamule stita Gauri, Prabhate Karadarshanam. At the tip of my hands lives Lakshmi, prosperity. In the center of my hands lives Saraswati, wisdom. At the base of my hands lives Gauri, the power of creation. I see the divine in my hands at dawn. Why hands? The hands are the most densely innervated part of the human body. In the brain's somatosensory cortex, the map of the body in the brain, the hands occupy a disproportionately enormous territory. When you bring your hands into focused visual attention in the first seconds of waking, you are activating the parietal lobe, your spatial awareness center, and the prefrontal cortex, your intentional awareness center, before the amygdala, your fear and reactivity center, has had a chance to fire up. You are, in the language of neuroscience, top-down regulating your nervous system from the first second of consciousness. The first thought of the day becomes, I am powerful. I am capable. I am the creator of this day. Not, I am behind. Not, I am afraid. Not, let me check what the world thinks of me. One gesture, two completely different neurological mornings. The second practice is Bhoomi Pranam. Before your feet touch the ground, you bow. You acknowledge the earth. The Sanskrit prayer says, Samudra Vasane Devi, Parvata Sthana Mandale, Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam, Pada Sparsham Kshamasva Me. O divine earth, please forgive my feet for touching you. The first transition of the day, from horizontal to vertical, from sleep to waking, is a moment of neurological vulnerability. The brain's vestibular system is recalibrating. Blood pressure is adjusting. How you make this transition programs your autonomic baseline for the entire day. Bhoomi Pranam forces slowness. It forces the body into a grounding posture, bent, humble, connected. This activates the vagus nerve through the slight pressure of the gesture, stimulating the parasympathetic system. It is a vagal tone reset at the start of the day. The ancients called it reverence. Modern neuroscience calls it vagal stimulation and parasympathetic priming. The result is the same. You begin your day grounded, not reactive. The third practice, drinking water. But not any water, not any way, not at any time. The practice is called Ushna Jala Seva in Ayurveda, the sacred consumption of warm water at the dawn hour. The Charaka Samhita, written approximately 400 BCE, states that drinking water first thing in the morning, before food, before speech, before mental activity, clears the channels of the body, activates the digestive fire, and supports the cleansing of accumulated toxins. The Ayurvedic texts specifically recommend copper vessels, water stored overnight in copper. Studies published in peer-reviewed journals have confirmed that water stored in copper vessels for 8 hours carries measurable antimicrobial properties. The copper ions actively suppress pathogens, including E. coli and Salmonella. The Vedic recommendation was not superstition. It was a scientifically sound public health intervention developed millennia before germ theory. Drinking 500 to 750 milliliters of water immediately upon waking activates the gastrocolic reflex, initiating gut cleansing. It also rapidly elevates cerebral hydration. The brain is 73% water, and even 1 to 2% dehydration measurably impairs cognitive function. Your ancestors called it sacred. Your gastroenterologist calls it optimal. Same glass, same dawn. The fourth practice is one that has no modern equivalent, because the modern world has no concept of what it does. It is called Sankalpa. San means born from the highest consciousness. Kalpa means a vow, a sacred rule of living. A Sankalpa is not a goal. It is not a to-do list. It is not an affirmation you repeat, hoping your subconscious will believe it. A Sankalpa is a single seed thought, planted in the field of consciousness at the exact moment when the mind is most receptive, that sets the direction of an entire day, an entire year, or an entire life. In the 20 minutes after waking, before full cortical arousal has occurred, the brain is in a state called hypnopompic theta, a theta wave dominant state that is the neurological equivalent of soil being freshly turned. Whatever intention you introduce into consciousness in this window does not merely register as one thought among many. It programs the Reticular Activating System. It tells your brain's attention filter, "This is what matters today. Show me everything relevant to this." The Vedic rishis understood, without neuroscience, that the first thought of the day is not just a thought. It is a command, sent to the entire operating system of the self. Now the sun is rising, and in the Vedic tradition, you do not ignore this, you face it. The practice of Surya Arghya, offering water to the rising sun, is one of the most ancient practices in Sanatan Dharma. Every morning, millions stand at the water's edge and pour water toward the sun while chanting the Gayatri mantra. A modern person might ask, why pour water at the sun? What does the sun gain? The question misunderstands the direction of the gift. The water, poured in a thin stream toward the solar disk, creates a natural prism. The sunlight passing through the arc of water is broken into its full visible spectrum, and the practitioner stands directly behind this prism, bathing their open eyes in full spectrum early morning light. Early morning sunlight enters through the eyes and directly stimulates the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus, the brain's master circadian clock. This light signal suppresses residual melatonin, elevates serotonin synthesis, and sets the cortisol curve for the entire day. Dr. Andrew Huberman of Stanford University has made this one of his most emphasized protocols. Get sunlight in your eyes within 30 minutes of waking. It is, he says, the single most important thing you can do for your sleep, your mood, your metabolism, and your mental health. The Vedic tradition was doing this for 5,000 years, not because they read a neuroscience paper, but because they observed that people who practiced Surya Arghya were, across their entire lives, calmer, sharper, more joyful. That is the genius of Sanatan Dharma. It didn't just discover the protocol, it made the protocol an act of devotion. And then, after the water, after the sun, after the intention, you sit. You sit and you do nothing. In a civilization that has made productivity its highest god, this is the most subversive act available to you. The Vedic term for this sitting is Dhyana, not concentration. Concentration is effort. Dhyana is what happens when concentration becomes effortless, when the observer and the observed begin to dissolve into each other. Here is what a consistent daily dhyana practice does to your brain. Harvard Medical School. 8 weeks of daily meditation measurably thickens the prefrontal cortex, the seat of wisdom, compassion, and conscious choice. The same study found a measurable decrease in the volume of the amygdala, the brain's fear and reactivity center. Less fear, more wisdom. Literally grown and shrunk by sitting in silence. A study from the University of Wisconsin-Madison found that long-term meditators generate gamma-wave frequencies of a kind and intensity never previously recorded in non-meditating brains, associated with states of profound compassion, perceptual clarity, and what the researchers carefully described as extraordinary mental states. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, "Ayam Atma Brahma." This self is identical to the ground of all existence. Modern neuroscience documents a related phenomenon, deactivation of the posterior superior parietal cortex, the brain region responsible for maintaining the boundary between self and not self. When this region quiets in deep meditation, subjects report, universally across cultures, a sense of expansion, unity, boundlessness. The Upanishads called it Aham Brahmasmi, I am the infinite. Neuroscience calls it parietal lobe deactivation. The meditator calls it coming home. We are living through the most attention-fragmented, sleep-deprived, spiritually disconnected period in recorded human history. And the civilization that understood human consciousness most deeply, that civilization left us a gift. Not a religion to believe in, not a dogma to follow, a technology, a morning technology, a simple, practical, daily sequence of actions that, practiced consistently, will change the architecture of your brain, the quality of your consciousness, and the fundamental experience of being alive. Your ancestors were not primitive people with charming superstitions. They were scientists of consciousness, and the laboratory was themselves. We have forgotten their findings, but the data still exists, encoded in ancient texts, confirmed in the journals of modern neuroscience. The question is not whether this works. The question is whether you will wake up tomorrow, 5 minutes earlier than yesterday, and begin to find out. In episode 2, we go inside the mind during Dhyana itself. We will explore what the Mandukya Upanishad means when it says there are 4 states of consciousness, and that most modern humans live their entire lives having experienced only one of them. There are 3 more states waiting for you, and the door to each of them opens at 4:30 a.m.